this event at Madison Square Garden, and I'm trying to show you guys, right? I'm not trying to be a scumbag and go, look at me, I'm out here. But guys, the garden's right over here. There's a pop, there's a buzz going on out here. And I share that with you because does it kind of feel down, right? Card subject to change. One thing about Dana White, when he makes those changes, and we saw this as recently as 3 weeks ago, so you guys will know that it's true. Kamaru Usman was a treat. It upped the card, right? Volkanovski was 100% the most meaningful opponent for Islam, and we got it. It was a treat. But I can follow Dana back, and we can go back. You want to know a great night that turned business? It was Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor. It was set and projected to not only be an overall top 10 event, but it would easily shatter all records at that weight class. This is before Conor was even the champion. Jose comes off, and that's the fight, right? That's the fight. It's the king versus the jester. I mean, that's the fight. Jose comes off, Chad Mendes goes in. It ends up beating projections, but we can feel that too. As bad as we wanted to see Jose, and Jose was the right guy for something that we weren't expecting to be so meaningful, not to mention a very different stylistic match with Chad Mendes. I'm just offering you examples. That one thing about when Dana has to pull out that magic wand and show why he's different than everybody else is when he needs to change a card, the card will generally get better. And if we're being fair, losing Jones and Stipe was a blow. I just want to share with you, this event is so pivotal. You do not have storylines set up for 205 pounds or for heavyweight in 2024. If you don't have this event. It's one of those situations. Now, I could feel that, and that's a nice thing to say, right? That's a nice thing. We're fight fans, let's defend the sport that we love. When I got out here to New York, I can just tell you everything is just as hot and just as bopping. I mean, we've got, it's a fighter hotel, but all of ESPN staying here, everybody's staying here at the same hotel. There's lines out the door. It is difficult to get through the lobby, where you've got fans that are just passionate, man. They're wearing shirts. They got on their clothes. Some of them are still got the fight kit. Some of them are just in Monster t-shirts and hats. I mean, Monster as a sponsor is doing an activation out here. The number one thing that I'm trying to share with you guys is the buzz and the feel on the ground is just as hot as anything else that I've had the privilege of seeing mixed martial arts related here in New York City scheduled for the Garden. So number one thing I'm trying to share with you. Now, I also am a little bit confused. I am a storyteller, right? I come to you guys and I tell you stories. I don't break news. There's only a couple of ways to be able to talk to you guys, right? And one of them is to come in and share with you some of the background information, some of why the fight matters. I very rarely bring you guys an X's and O breakdown. I feel like you can get that from any jobber out there, and there's so many people that want to break into MMA, and that's how they're going to do it. Go right ahead. You'll never compete with me because I'm not in that field. I'm just sharing with you that I don't believe that the audience cares if this guy's Southpaw or this guy's Orthodox. That was a story once upon a time when people didn't know anything about fighting. It was a really big deal to be able to talk about. If you're a Southpaw, you're going to throw the left hand where you're circling right so that you watch this check hook, right? It's one of these things where that is really helpful for the one or two big fights that we get a year. But nowadays, where you get 2 a week to choose from, I find it boring. And as a storyteller, I am going to have a very hard time. I'm going to have a very hard time because I don't understand. I don't understand, and you guys must understand what number one contender is. There is a number of terms in this sport that are misunderstood and misused, but number one contender is one of those. If you go to a rankings page, you're going to have to go to the official ranking page just so we don't have any argument or discussion. Whether we like it or not, we will have to follow whatever that says. But if you go to that page and you see a guy that is ranked number one, you will often have, including talking heads, including reporters and pundits in this space, that where they will call that person the number one contender. That is not true. The number one contender is whoever is next for the champion. So you could have a guy who in theory is the number one contender, but whoever has the bout sheet, that is the one and only way where you actually establish number one contender, and I'm bringing that to you. It's extremely relevant. Like, one thing about this sport that we all know very well is we're going to follow whatever rules we make up on the spot. Like, we do understand that, but when you don't have rules that are stated, at anything in life, you will then turn to precedents. if there is no policy that is officially stated by decision makers, you will then turn to precedents. And one thing that we do know about the interim belt, and I love the interim belt, I wish they'd bring back the super fight belt. I hope they contest for the first time ever the BMF belt. I like those kinds of opportunities. I'm a little bit different, but I do like those. And one thing that we all could at least understand, without ever having it stated for us, whoever is the interim champion is the number one contender, meaning his next fight will be, if everybody's healthy, able, and willing, against the undisputed champion. If you have the interim belt and you're able and willing, when the undisputed champion returns, it will be the two of you. Period. No politics. We're done. We do all understand it to a degree, but that is not what's going to happen here. Stipe Miocic is the number one contender. Stipe Miocic has the bout sheet. I'm well aware they're going to need a new or an amended bout sheet to change the date and the location. I'm well aware of that, but I just want you to follow me on that point. Because this is a riddle that even for me, I got a hard time solving. Okay, we're going to go out and we're going to have an interim championship match. It's going to be between two active, busy, hungry, well-ranked, incredible record studs. Period. Are they the absolute best? I mean, it's one of those questions. That's why you got to go and hold those matches. You could talk about the greatest ever, and you could talk about the greatest talent. You could do all of those things. You could come to the conclusion of Jon Jones. But there's a reason we go out and have the fight. We don't actually know right now is the greatest ever the greatest today. It's one of those situations. So we're going to go out. We're going to have this interim championship match that feels to me like it should be the world championship match. And even though we're arguing over semantics, the semantics in this particular case are very different because we're going to have an interim champion who will not be the number one contender. As a matter of fact, that interim champion, if he's healthy, able, and willing, will be in the front row when the champion, Jon Jones, fights the number one contender, which is Stipe Miocic, which is a year from now. Stipe and Jon Jones have stated numerous times that they are going to retire after that match, both of them. So if the information that we're given turns out to be accurate, the interim champion who will be in the front row at the match thinking he's going to take on the winner of Jon and Stipe, the moment the winner of Jon and Stipe, as moment the words leave his mouth into the microphone, into the audience's ears, I'm retired, he is no longer champion, and the interim champion is. So the interim champion, I want you to stay with me here, guys. I told you it's a riddle. I told you it's a hard one. Let's get to the meat of this thing. The interim champion, for sure and without question, based on the information we're currently given, right? I know we got to operate within that, but it's all we have. We're only as good as the information we're given. The interim champion, without fighting, without throwing a punch, without weighing in, without signing a contract, will for sure and without question be the undisputed champion. That is literally the story that we have right now. The interim champion will become the undisputed champion because he will never have a shot at the undisputed champion, and the undisputed champion, with or without success in his next contest, is going to retire, and so is his opponent, who may or may not at that time be the undisputed champion, which makes the interim champion king. All of those things can't be real at the same time. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. Some of those terms are what we call mutually exclusive. So if the undisputed champion is going to become, if the interim champion is going to become the undisputed champion, for sure, no way around it, for sure, just a matter of when. It seems like this should be for, and it seems like this is for, the undisputed championship.